Hello, welcome back to this channel. Today's going to be a very fun video because today's going to be an informational plant tour. Now today we won't be going outside into the garden because, well, there's not much to talk about. That's new, but there's a lot of awesome things to really talk about in here. Today's video will actually be pretty short. So before we do go and start today's video, please subscribe, hit the bell notification on all so you do not miss a video. And please like this video. Now everyone that's hoping to hear more stuff about Go For It Produce, which is my dream farm business, I won't really be talking about it much today because really I don't have that much new information. And yeah, so let's go ahead and start with the aquaponics, and then we're gonna go ecosystem, and then everything behind me, followed by the germination room, and then that will be the end of the video. So let's go ahead and start. All right, well, I will say the aquaponics are kind of, well, halted almost. They're pretty much at their last few days. I was saying it was starting to get better. It is in some areas, but for a while it was really showing a lot more progress. Now if you're new, you're probably wondering, what on earth is this guy talking about? So I made a big mistake a few months ago, well, I guess a month ago, I ended up buying an air pump, which is that kind of gray looking box right there. I ended up kind of putting a lot of air into the system, making the oxygen level way too high. And at a certain point, when that oxygen level does get way too high, it almost starts to blind the plant root structure to the point where it can't find that nutrients it needs to thrive. So now I have all these plants sitting in the system, completely blind, don't even know what's happening. A ton of the lettuce is not making it. A ton of the just stuff wasn't doing great. So I was doing a lot of research. I was actually thinking it was the pH. I was thinking, you know what? There's no way the pH is wrong because I've already had a good harvest from this. Then I ended up adding both of the systems together, so there's no way that could be the problem. Then I did a lot more research, and then I don't even know how I got to this idea, but I guess someday I must have walked in here and been like, wonder if it's the air. Because I always thought I wasn't adding enough air, but I guess I was adding too much. Maybe it was always a little bit too high. But I ended up kind of turning that off, and then about 2 weeks later, stuff started to do a little bit better. There weren't a lot of signs of growth, but since then the parsley has started to grow pretty well. Now most of the plants did get hit way too hard to the point where they can't recover, but I'm actually germinating a lot of new plants in the germination room right now. So you're probably wondering, why don't I just take everything out for now, turn off the grow lights? I could do that, but aquaponics, when it comes down to aquaponics, that is probably one of the worst ideas you could possibly do, because when one part of the system isn't working, the other part of the system will fail. So if I take out all the plants over the course of the next 3 days, all the fish will end up dying from the ammonia being way too high in the system. Then I'll start having a lot of problems with the biofilter, and then I'll start getting all sorts of gross stuff in the main system. It's just a horrible mess. But when I do have kind of like maybe something wrong going on in the fish tank, maybe a lot of the fish are getting sick, then I have absolutely no nutrients to get to the plants. So now I have no nutrients at all. It's just water at that point. It's just aquarium water. There we go. But at the end of the day, I'm going to kind of keep them in here even though they're basically dead at this point. I'm just going to kind of stall because some of the plants are still barely growing, which still helps bring that level a little bit more constant, but level is starting to get a little bit higher. That's why when we checked the pH level in this morning's video, it was about 7.7, which is quite high. Not the highest I've ever seen it. I think the highest I ever saw it was 8.1, and that is extremely high. But I ended up putting some stuff in it to try to bring it down to about 7.0, which is where I like to have my system sit at, because that's exactly where the fish thrive and the plants will thrive at the same time. I am germinating a lot more plants in the germination room right now, so hopefully we'll have those ready in about a week or maybe a little bit longer, but we'll just see how stuff does. Other than that, let's go ahead and start with the ecosystem. Now, if you guys saw my video this morning also, I ended up feeding the fish, so if you guys do want to check that video out also, that was a very, very fun video to film. But it's so incredible to look around and see how much life is in this. Number one, the rocks are looking good. They're starting to show some signs of like being in an aquarium, but that's awesome. The gravel and just sand and stuff is kind of mixing together, which is looking pretty cool now. The wall in the back is still holding up, which is good. But what's awesome is Well, I guess this part isn't awesome. A lot of the shrimp have not made it. I ended up getting 8, and now I can only really find 1. So that's not good, but fish-wise, they're doing phenomenal. The catfish is doing better than I've ever seen it. It's doing even better than when it was in this system. Then the guppies. 2 of the guppies, I have 2 female and 1 male. 2 of the female are currently pregnant, so very, very excited about that because that was one of my main goals I really wanted to do. I really wanted the fish to breed, to kind of bring up their population in the fish tank and just really see how the fish can adapt to a great ecosystem and start forming a great life and a great family in this ecosystem. I will eventually introduce some more fish into this eventually, not a ton, but I am looking into maybe introducing some new stuff. I will probably do that later on though, because right now I'm actually kind of waiting for the ecosystem build video to do a little bit better, because right now the video actually performed pretty poorly after like 18 hours of filming and maybe 3 months of work. I'm very, very, very disappointed about that. So if you guys do want to help support that video, I'd really love it if you would. We're kind of turning around over here. There's a lot of incredible stuff happening over here. I'm going to kind of talk through this pretty quickly, stop through a few plants, but other than that, there's not a ton of major stuff to talk about currently. I have tango lettuce, grand lettuce, ruby red, butter crunch. Over here, I'm also growing black Simpson, romaine, gourmet mix, and oak leaf. Now, you're probably wondering, why am I growing so much lettuce? All of these will go out into the garden, into kind of the lettuce, I guess the lettuce part of it, so that'll be awesome to really work with. Going down, I have the bigger tomatoes I'm going to be growing. It's just the classic, I guess, larger, I wouldn't say the beefsteak tomatoes, those are like extra large, but the larger tomatoes. There's 1 pot right there, well, 1 tray, and then at the very end of that kind of second shelf almost, there is another one of those. Then I'm also growing oregano, 5 fans of it, and I'm also growing 8 cups of basil. There's 4 down there, and there's 4 right here. Going down right here, I have red, green, and yellow peppers. Those are doing very, very well. I probably will kind of hold off on watering those for now so they can grow a lot more, but it'll be very awesome to really see those start to thrive very soon. The strawberries right there aren't really doing good. They basically all died out. Those are all the cherry tomatoes. Very, very excited about those because really this season's gonna be awesome for cherry tomatoes. Going down, I have a little bit of some lavender growing. Not a ton, but at the end of the day, whatever grows. I'm growing a lot of parsley. Very, very excited about that because I really want to kind of learn how to turn parsley into seasoning this upcoming summer season. And then these are my strawberries. This season has actually kind of been a little bit of a struggle because just these plants are just really not wanting to grow. But yeah, so we'll just see how those do over time. For Go Forth Produce, I did end up ordering about 40 bare roots. I ended up going through like 40 different types of kinds of strawberries, and I ended up coming on a great website that was selling Seascape ones plants for a great price, and that's actually the kind I ended up choosing because really the offers that plant gives was the best, because that plant could produce stuff all year. It would adapt to this type of a room very, very well, and just the fruit and everything on that really just does well. So over here, these plants are also doing very, 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 very well. I'm growing cilantro. The cilantro is growing incredibly well, so that is phenomenal. Going over here, I'm also growing a ton of flowers. I'm growing cosmos, aster, and patience, 4 o'clock, high press, and snap dragon. Just those are doing okay. Some of those here and there aren't doing phenomenal, but at the end of the day, whatever happens, whatever happens. That's the second tray of the bigger tomatoes I was telling you guys a second ago about. I'm also growing a bunching onions. Those are growing very, very well, so I'm very, very excited about that. These are also the strawberry kind of pot design I'm really hoping to work with for Go Forth Produce. I still have a lot more work to do with these, from how many I should really plant in the pot. I'm thinking I'm gonna plant about 3 plants in each pot, and just see how stuff does. Because really, at the end of the day, strawberries don't put off that insane of a root structure. I'm comparing it to, I guess, sugar peas, but they do still put off a big root structure, I guess. But yeah, we'll just see how those do. And yeah, so I will say I really do need to kind of change up the soil mix, because the soil is good for the strawberries because it has a lot of nutrients in it. It also really has great drainage, but I really kind of feel like the drainage still needs be a little bit better. So I think all it really needs at this point is a lot more perlite, which is these things right here. You can kind of see there. Those really help with all sorts of stuff like that. Then going down right here, I'm growing, germinating a ton of stuff. Seedlings to go outside. I'm growing lemongrass, bunching onions, whatever that is. Spinach, I don't know why I keep forgetting what that is, but there we go. Then we have basil, and then we have broccoli right there. Turning around, I have a ton of these beautiful plants growing. These might have to be one of my favorite summer plants to grow ever. Just any day of the year, I could grow sugar peas and still be very happy with how they taste. Just a beautiful fun plant to work with. So if you guys are doing a garden right now, I have no clue what to grow, I strongly recommend looking into sugar peas. I'm also growing rosemary. We've already talked about the lettuce, but going over here, there's a lot of beautiful stuff happening with the tomatoes. Now, if you look up, some of the plants don't look amazing, but there's one plant I really want to talk about, which is going to be this one. This one is actually growing a beautiful cherry tomato right there. And then I'm also growing dill, which you can see kind of right there. And then I'm growing mustard, which will be very cool to work with. And just as promised, we will be going into the germination room. Now, I'm going to try to talk about these very quickly, because I don't want a lot of the germination, allow the humidity to go out. So I'm growing almost all, I guess all lettuce in here. Buttercrunch, Tango, Grand Lettuce, and Ruby Red. Also, oak leaf at the very back right there. I'm also growing peppermint, which seems to still have absolutely no growth. Same with the celery, so that is very disappointing. But at the end of the day, whatever happens. And then another tray I'm germinating, and there's a lot of beautiful stuff in here. I'm growing 2 different types of salad mixes. Then cilantro, parsley, and then basil. I'm gonna let those grow for a little bit longer. Well, I guess to the point where they look like something like that, where they're growing a lot more. I'll leave those in probably another day, maybe 2. And then I'll put them under grow lights very close. And then once they're ready and they've grown a lot more than I usually have them grow, then I'll have them go in the aquaponic system. But I really want to make sure they have a good root structure, because if anything goes wrong, they'll have better chances of surviving and overcoming whatever happens. So, sadly, this is going to be the end of the video. Now, if you guys like these types of videos, please subscribe, hit the bell notification on all so you not miss a video, and please like this video. I really do want to thank you all so incredibly much for watching today's video and supporting the channel. I'll see you guys tomorrow when we post next. Peace.